All right, welcome back to the Dish and Swish podcast. I'm Trevor Trost here with Amadeus Peterson. We're back for another week.
We are. We're back. It just keeps on coming.
Keeps on coming. Good week of NBA hoops this week. I actually went to a game. I'm not like you where I got the season tickets, so I've been to a couple games in the past couple weeks, but
Yeah.
I got to witness a fun game between two very bad teams this past week. But it was fun, man. The Jazz Arena
Yeah.
Delta Center was rocking, but it's good to see the Jazz actually get it, maybe one of their wins against the Trailblazers. And got to see some good young players. Scoot Henderson, the guy behind me was calling him Scott the whole game. So shout out to Scott Henderson to start off the podcast today.
Yeah. No, that's a fun
Scott
game.
Henderson sounds like he lives in Utah, doesn't he?
Yeah, he'd fit right in with the Jazz.
He would. Scott Henderson. Anyways, yeah, good week. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. What do we have?
Yeah, so I guess there were some big accomplishments this week, some records being broken in the NBA that we'll touch on. We had our game of the week. That ended up being a close game despite some players sitting out. And then we want to break down a little bit of the in-season tournament, maybe give a little predictions of what we think is going to happen in the first inaugural in-season tournament. And then, yeah, we'll random news, the classics, and we'll have a Trevor Trost Dish and Swish draft. So a lot to be excited about today.
A lot to be excited about, a lot to get into. So breaking news this past week. Big story for Kevin Durant as he becomes 10th all-time in NBA leading scoring, passing Moses Malone in a loss to the Denver Nuggets with 27,450 points. That's a lot of points. And so where in the top 10 do you think KD will land? Let me give you a couple guys. So it goes KD, then above him is Melo, Shaq, Wilt, Dirt, Michael Jordan, Kobe, Karl Malone, Kareem, and then obviously LeBron is the number one. Where do you think he slots into that after he's all is said and done?
No, it's a great question. KD, I mean, we talk a lot about LeBron's longevity, but KD has had amazing longevity in his career, especially after tearing his Achilles, which is obviously, a tough injury to come back from. It looks like he's showed no signs of slowing up, still a 30-point a game scorer. I personally see him passing Kobe. I think he's going to make it to number 4 on the all-time list. I don't know if he'll catch Karl Malone. I think that 36,000 mark's pretty high. But I'm seeing him getting past Jordan, Kobe, passing some big names. So
that's 6,000 more points.
I think even this season, I think this season he'll pass Melo probably, and I think he'll probably pass Shaq as well. So 2 more names on the list that I think he'll catch up to, and I think he's got 3 or 4 more good seasons in him. So,
well, yeah, we'll see for sure. He's right up there with Melo, like you said. Could very well happen this year, him and Shaq. But 6,000 more points, that's a lot of points to catch up to Kobe. So we'll see if it happens.
Do you agree? Do you think where do you think he's going to land?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he gets quite there. It kind of just depends on the next few years because, like you said, the longevity of KD is such an interesting factor with his injury history. It's not really it's more decorated than LeBron's injury history, where he's had more severe injuries, where he's missed, whole seasons or more. So I think it'll be interesting to see how his body. We haven't seen a specimen like LeBron continue to play, at year 21 or whatever it is now at such a high level. It'll be interesting to see as KD keeps getting into his latter years, how his body adjusts. I mean, and he's showing no signs of let up as he's, advanced throughout his career. So, yeah, I could see it. But speaking of a lot of points, the Dallas Mavericks go on a 30-0 run in a loss to the OKC Thunder, the biggest run since 1997 and 98 season. And Luka became a father that day with a good line, but can you kind of break down that run? How do you score 30 points unanswered and then still end up losing the game?
Yeah, it was amazing, to be honest. We had the Oklahoma City Thunder were up 24 points at one point in the fourth quarter, and the Mavericks go on a 30-0 run to take the lead. But then at the end, they fall apart. They turn the ball over with an opportunity to go up. There, I think they were down 122, 120 towards the very end with 40 seconds left, and Shea gets a steal and lays it up. So they came stormed back, but weren't able to seal the deal. But I mean, pretty amazing stuff to see from the Dallas Mavericks to go on a 30-0 run is something that you don't see every day. Pretty crazy stuff.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That's pretty incredible, especially to not even give up, a basket. The other team scores 30
Yeah,
points unanswered. That's
yeah,
impressive. And like we said, Luka became a father in the game, 36, 15, and 18 after becoming a father earlier that day. That's pretty impressive. But then again, they couldn't get it done in the end. So the Mavs talked about how it was a good sign for them and a good trend in the right direction. So we'll see how they react from that. But let's kind of recap our game of the week, Philadelphia at Boston. Like you had talked about earlier, there was a few key players missing. What kind of was our recap of that?
yeah. So on Boston side, we saw Porzingis was out. He has a left calf strain that he's been sitting out for, and then Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid have both been sick, so they both sat that game. And I also think Nicholas Batum sat for the Philadelphia 76ers. But despite some key players, some stars sitting out, it ended up being a really close game that came down to the end. We saw Patrick Beverley. I think Patrick Beverley is the story of this game when it comes down to it. Patrick Beverley putting up 26 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, and talking a lot of smack like he always does, like he always does. And he kept him in the game for a while. DeAnthony Melton helped out with 21. Robert Covington had 18, and the other players like Paul Reed um, and yeah, a bunch of other guys scored in double figures for the Philadelphia 76ers. So lots of contributions from key role players, but just in the end weren't able to get it done. And I guess on the other side, the Boston Celtics had 4 players score 20 plus, so they got the job done.
Well, it's definitely hard to get it done, like you said, when the other team has 4 guys score over 20 points a game. It's hard to win in that kind of game. But did Patrick Beverley have this kind of game after signing his Superfans 8 jerseys, or was this before
I
that?
think it was after. I think it was after. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was the same game. I think it was the game before, where
Oh, okay.
for those who didn't see the clip, it was some fan literally had every single Patrick Beverley jersey from his career, and Patrick Beverley signed every single jersey. So I guess that was helpful, to see that he had the support of at least one fan. Maybe Patrick Beverley not the most not the most popular dude in the NBA, but definitely had that guy's support.
He did, and he kept lifting up more jerseys. It just seemed like it never ended. And then his bottom
Yeah,
shirt said "I heart Pat Bev."
yeah, yeah.
Legend.
That was crazy. That was
Anyways,
crazy.
so that leads us to our upcoming game of the week, which is an in-season tournament championship this Saturday, December 9th at 6:30 p.m. We have a good little semifinals matchup, or quarterfinals matchup, excuse me, between the Lakers, Suns, Kings, Pelicans in the West, and then the East is Pacers, Celtics, Bucks, Knicks. Who do you see coming out this Saturday?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I think this is going to be a lot harder to predict than your normal NBA playoffs because it's just one game, very much closer to maybe like a March Madness type situation, with the single elimination. But from what I've seen, I think I'd take Lakers Celtics if I were to guess who's going to be playing on Saturday. I just think that the Lakers right now, it seems like they really do care about this $500,000 prize. and I mean the Celtics I think are the deepest team in that Eastern bracket. So I expect to see Lakers Celtics, and I think it would be a great story for the NBA to see the two most historied franchises go at it for the first ever in season tournament.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I go a little different route. I think the Suns come out of
Mm-hmm.
the West. I like the Suns. I think they're playing good basketball. And then I would like to see the Pacers come out of the East. I think they have a good young squad. You never know. 500,000 makes a big difference when you're a young guy in the NBA. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I'd like to see a hungry Pacers squad versus Suns. That's kind of my prediction there. Um, and yeah, that kind of brings us to our team spotlight. But this week, team lowlight once again. There was a big month of November with a lot of games played. But sadly, one team did not get a win in the month of November. The Detroit Pistons. What can you tell us about their losing streak?
Yeah, up in the 3-1-3, it is tough. It is tough to be a Detroit Pistons fan right now. Yeah, their last win came, I believe, October 28th in the first or second week of the NBA season. And since then, the Detroit Pistons have not won a singular game. Um, I guess, I mean, it seemed like they had lots of potential. I mean, they have great players in, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren. They have Jaden Ivey, players that look like, can potentially be stars in the NBA. They brought in a new coach, Monty Williams, for I think they signed him for a huge contract. He could have gone other places, but he got the most out of out of the Pistons. And it seems like if you're Monty Williams, I think you're regretting this decision going to Detroit. To be honest, so
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like it's a tough road ahead for the Detroit Pistons, but the I guess they're not alone. They're not alone at the bottom, and then there's another team that has been pretty
Yeah.
miserable as well.
So a 17 game skid for the Pistons, but there's a team with a 14 game skid. The San Antonio Spurs are on a 14 game losing streak. Not ideal for the Spurs either, with all this young talent as well. The Spurs have a good young core as well, with Vassell and Wembanyama and Jeremy Sokan. It'll be interesting to see if they can turn it around. With their young core. It's kind of hard because they just re-signed Greg Popovich to a couple-year extension. So he kind of has shown that he's in it for the long haul, but a 14-game losing streak is definitely not a good sign for any team. So is this something to be worried about after getting the number one pick, or is there some growing pains you think?
Yeah, I think if you're the Spurs, I don't think you were expecting anything huge coming out this season. I think this is kind of a development year where you maybe play your younger players so that get them experience in games, so that hopefully 3 or 4 years down the road that experience pays off. And so I think right now I think the Spurs are in an okay place. Definitely not wanting to be on a 14 game skid, but hopefully these games and these minutes that these younger players are getting hopefully translates into the Spurs being a really really good team in say 3 or 4 years with a healthy Victor Wembanyama, and hopefully if things keep going in this direction, probably one or two other really good picks alongside of him.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how that slots out with their draft picks. We've seen a lot of good rookie play this year. There is a lot of talent in this past year's draft, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And yeah, that kind of leads us into our next segment, my favorite segment, random news. This week in random news, Mark Cuban sells the Dallas Mavericks to Miriam Adelson, the owner of the Las Vegas Sands, which is the largest casino company, for $3.5 billion after buying them for $285 million. This is big news because Mark Cuban has been a very notorious owner of an NBA franchise and has been very vocal. Mark Cuban still retains the rights to be director of basketball and kind of have that as a minority stake in his ownership, as he didn't sell the whole thing. So I think he kind of got what he wanted. But the big underlying theme and thought of this whole thing is that with his money that he just made, the Mavs will build some new super arena with that is similar to the MGM Grand, is what the thought process is, with a huge hotel, casino type vibe with it. So we'll see if that actually happens. But Mark Cuban might build a mini metropolis just in the arena. So we'll see the Mavs. But 3.5 billion is a lot of money. What are your thoughts on this deal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mark Cuban, the man of investments, he 12x'd his investment on the Dallas Mavericks after buying the team for 285 million in 2000. And he also just quit Shark Tank. So I guess keep your eyes out for Mark Cuban. I guess I'm sure he has something that he's cooking up now. So we'll keep our eyes on Mark Cuban and see what he ends up doing. So I think big news for the NBA. Obviously, I guess he'll still be a part of the team and he'll still be in charge of basketball operations. But I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Mavs and this partnership that they're creating with Miriam Adelson. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. I think it's kind of the first of, I mean, it's the first I've heard of where casino guru is kind of getting involved in the sports world. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens and if the new arena, how it shakes out. But what a return on investment there for Mark
yeah.
Cuban. That's quite the influx of money there. So on to some feel good random news. What do we have?
Yeah, so Mitchell Robinson, who's the center on the New York Knicks, and honestly, he's been having an amazing season. He's the offensive rebounding king of the NBA, if you want to label him as something. But his high school coach that he played for, his wife recently died, and Mitchell Robinson has decided to have his coach come and live with him. So yeah, definitely a feel good story there in the NBA. Shout out to Mitchell Robinson. That's a pretty cool experience, and
It's
yeah,
interesting
pretty cool of him to
because
do.
it's been all year and it just barely broke the news. So good for Mitchell Robinson, because you can tell he did it out of actually true intent. And his high school coach said that he visited his wife in the hospital almost every day. So that's a feel good story. And then they interviewed him and the coach talked about how good Mitchell was of a guy and everything. So shout out to him, man. That's really impressive. Would you have any of our high school coaches come live with you if you ever made it?
I mean, of course, if they needed a place to stay, they got my crib. They can come over whenever. I'll love.
Good to hear, brother. Good to hear. No shock from that. But yeah, that kind of leads us into our next segment, the Dish and Swish draft. What do we have?
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked a little bit about some duos. We talked about Tatum and Brown. We talked about Maxey and Embiid in our game of the week. So I guess it got us thinking: who are the top 5 duos in the NBA? So,
Mhm.
Trevor, take us away.
I will. Now, I'm going to say one duo that is my honorable mention,
Mhm.
and that is Embiid and Maxey on my top 5, because they just haven't. I feel like there's not enough data there for me to count them there yet. If I see 20 more games of this that I'm seeing right now, they might be in my top 3. They're a solid duo for sure. But let's just go rapid fire. Top 5 duos. At number 5, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Number 4, LeBron and AD. Number 3, Giannis, Dame. Number 2, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Number 1, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Now, the reason that I did this is because, one, the best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, proved that they were the best duo last year. Let's be honest. And I actually have always really liked the dynamic between Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And that's kind of why I have
Mhm.
him so high. Devin Booker is just like a stone cold killer, like on the court. Like he's proven he's just a bucket. And KD has
Mhm.
been KD for 10 plus years about, it's hard to root against either of those guys when I think KD and Booker are both top 10 players in the league. So
Yeah.
that's why they're there. Giannis and Dame might be kind of high. I just think individually they're so good. LeBron and AD, I'd like to see more continuity out of them before they move up higher, meaning be on the court together. Anthony Davis, meaning not be injured. And then Tatum and Brown, obviously, are really solid. So what do you think of my breakdown there?
I like it. I think Giannis and Dame need to prove themselves a little bit more. I mean, I do like them both individually, but we haven't really seen it. I don't know. They haven't really had tons of games where they've both been successful. And so I don't know if I'd put Giannis and Dame up there yet, but I agree. I think those are the six duos that that need to be talked about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's really any arguing about any others up on the list. I mean, you could say De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, but I don't think they're quite up there with those, with that other group. Shea and Chet may be one to watch for the future.
Yeah.
You never know. But yeah. So there we go. That's that kind of. Let me ask you this: who's going to be the? Who would you say? Give me one or two, like a Shea and Chet, who you think will be a nice little dynamic duo in a few years.
That's tough. I think I wanna say Ant and Cat, but I just don't know. I like Ant, but I don't know if I trust Cat as much as I'd like to. Him always changing his voice. I don't even know what to expect.
It's
Um,
true.
Man, that's tough. That's tough. Um, Maybe one duo that people maybe don't think a lot about, but maybe Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin, I think, are maybe a duo to watch, just because I think that their games complement each other really well. Benedict Mathurin,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, maybe doesn't have this high of a ceiling, but someone like a Dwayne Wade type who's just like more of a slasher, can shoot a little bit, but I think he plays really well off of Tyrese Halliburton and that high octane Indiana Pacers offense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
So
I think another one to look out for is Bankero and Wagner. Let's keep an eye out for those two. Those two are solid for sure. So
or even
it'll
or
be
even
fun to watch.
Suggs. Or
True,
even Suggs.
Suggs is nice too. Jalen Suggs is good. So
Yeah, he
yeah,
plays, he plays way too hard.
he does. He does. All I think of when I think of Jalen Suggs is his bank for Gonzaga. That's all I can think of.
Oh, true.
He's
True.
going down in
Iconic.
history. That was one of the best Final Four matchups. But yeah, that brings us down to the end of our show. We got a lot to look forward to. Obviously, kind of a shorter episode this week, but we got a lot of good games. Amadeus, just being a season ticket holder, he's there every game. He's taking in NBA knowledge and basketball more than anyone else. So
I dream in NBA games now. That's all I think about. That's all I think about now.
hey, we respect it. But yeah, we got a lot to look forward to. We finally got through the holdup of me, holding us back with our apparel. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, we got a lot coming. Anything I missed out on?
No, I think you hit it all. I think just keep staying tuned. Keep staying tuned for more. We're a work in progress, but we're getting there. We're getting there slowly.
And you heard it here. We're getting there. So we're at the Dish and Swish podcast. We'll see you guys next week.